Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca and I'm going to be showing you how to make a granny square in crochet. So you may have seen these in blankets, they're often multicoloured, but this work is started in the middle of the square and worked in rounds. So we'll be starting with what we call a magic circle. We'll be doing some chains, some treble, UK treble or US double crochet, and a slip stitch. So that they're the stitches that you're going to need: a magic circle, chains, treble and slip stitch. So you work it in rounds. You do the first group of 4, then you do the next round, next round. So the only stitches that we need to really do are clusters of 3 treble with a chain in between, and in the corners there are 2 groups of those 3 trebles, and in a straight part of the square on the edges they're just singles. So you start off by looping your yarn around your hands, put your hook underneath both loops, just hold it in place with your thumb while you can grab the yarn, do yarn around and pull it through both loops, so it's through the magic circle, yarn around and fix it with a chain. So this way, if I pull on the tail, I can make my circle get smaller. So we're going to start by the first group of 3 treble. Now we start off with a 3 chain instead of a stitch. That gets us to the right height. So we count that as a stitch. Usually when I work I don't count a treble, but in granny squares I do. So it's going to count as one of the stitches, and then I want to do a treble. So if you don't know how to do a treble, I'll just go through that. Yarn under the hook, into the magic circle, yarn around the hook through the magic circle, so you end up with 3 loops on your hook, yarn around through 2 of them, yarn around and through the last 2. So that gives me my group of 3. I've got the 3 chain and 2 stitches. Then I want to do a chain, which I do in between each of the groups of 3, and I do that again. So you need to just keep repeating doing that until the end, and you've got 4 groups, and then I'll show you how to finish that off with a slip stitch. Okay, now you should have got to the end of the first round. You've done 1 group of 3 here, so the 3 chain and 2 treble, 1 chain in between, a group of 3 here, 1 here, and a final 1 here. So now you want to do 1 chain and a slip stitch into, and I like to do it into the top of the last stitch rather than in the chain. I think it gives a better finish, but so you go slip stitch like that into there and put it through. The slip stitch is just 1 stitch, and now if I pull on the tail I should be able to close up that loop, the magic circle. So just pull it. Make sure you don't break the yarn, but you pull it as tight as you can. You can see I've closed up the hole there. So now we've got 4 groups of 3. So in my next row I'm going to start in one of the corners, and I do 3 chain, and then I kind of go back in a bit behind myself. So can you see that there's the 3 treble from the last one? I put it in just behind, and this is going to be the middle of the corner. So 2 more treble there. So that's the start of the next round. 1 chain, and then I do 2 lots of 3 trebles and a chain in here. 1, 3. And then this will be a completed corner. 3. So if you see that, we started here, and that's a completed corner with 2 sets of 3 trebles in that corner. So I'll do the same in the other corners, and I'll meet you back at the finish. Okay, so now I've come around the second round, and I want to do another group of 3 into that first corner where I started. and then 1 chain, and then I'm going to slip stitch. Again, I like to slip stitch into the top of the stitch because I find it gives a better finish. You can slip stitch into the last chain if you want to, but I think it makes a slightly neater start. So that's the second round. So exactly the same in the third round, 3 chain, treble slightly behind, and the only difference in this round, otherwise it's exactly the same as previous rounds, 1 chain, is the middle edge. So this isn't a corner, we just do 1 group of 3 in here. I do 1 group of 3, a chain, and then I go into this corner, the same group of 3. So if you can see that the edge there, I've got the start of that corner, and then I've got an edge which is a little bit different to the corner, which has 2 in them. So any edge piece has 1. So if you look in my square that I've done a few more of, I'm on the third round at the moment, so I've got 2 in this corner, a group of 3, just a single group of 3, and then 2 in the corner again. And then you can see the next row again, and you can just keep building that up as big as you want. And I'll do the next round, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, you should have got to the end of your square by now and joined the very last corner up together. So I'll just show you how to finish it off. It's the same as any other work really, so just grab a pair of scissors. I'd leave quite a long tail for sewing up if you want to on the outside, or on the last one, so pull it all the way through like that, and we can either weave in that end if you want to hide it, or you can use that to sew it up to another one. So usually these granny squares are used in a kind of a patchwork. So for example, this could be used to create a cot blanket or a blanket. They're sometimes done in different colours within the square. I'll show you an example of this here, of a blanket. I made this blanket a few years ago out of leftover pieces of yarn I had. It's a good way to do that. One more thing I wanted to show you was the chart for a granny square. We'll cover charts more in a future lessons, but if you're interested, you can have a look at this to see how to make a granny square. The other thing I just wanted to show you is that these squares look a little bit different because I've blocked this square and I haven't blocked this one. See how you can see it's a bit bumpy. So I'll cover that in another video, but if you're wondering why your work doesn't look as good as it could, it's probably because it hasn't been blocked. So when we cover that, you can see how to make your work look a little less bumpy. You sew these together using a mattress stitch in the same way that we did with the beanie. So yeah, leave a long tail for that one. For the inside start tail, what I want to make sure is that the magic circle's nice and tight. And I want to grab my needle, which I don't know what I've done with it. Here it is. Okay. So with the center one, all I want to do is grab my needle, and I kind of want to follow around the loop. So just goes around through that, just to kind of tighten up on the magic circle a little bit. So you follow the loop around. You don't really have to do much more than that. So just a couple of, just make sure it's nice and tight, and then cut that off, and you're done. Well done.